So this is part 2 of my review of deep light watercolours, and this time I'm going to be looking at mixing some colours together and seeing how these paints work sort of in relationship with each other, you know, the colours and things. It's a little bit more of a play and a few more of my thoughts on these paints. Okay, so let's pick up a bit more of this yellow. There is a tiny bit of blue in that. There, and we're going to mix that in with this primary blue here. And there we go. And so what I'm going to do is just clean the brush. And we're going to just sort of bring those together, introduce themselves to each other and see what happens. So say for example, if you were to mix them literally, actually, that's what you're getting is that lovely green. So let's have a bit more of a play with some of the other ones. What have we got? We had that forget-me-not that I loved. Let's mix a little bit of this. It's interesting, isn't it? Well, I kind of you want to put a tiny bit of blue in with that. See what it does. Magic stuff. Magenta, it's a beast, isn't it, that? So let's have a look at some of the earth colours here. We've got that Starry Night. I want to have another look at that, which is this one. I want to try, because this is quite a surprising pigment. I'm gonna try a bit of the raw Sienna here with that. Interesting. That's fascinating, that Starry Night. Can you see it's the way it's drying, it's cracking in the most wonderful way. Let's take a little bit of that Starry Night. I'm interested in this just as a pigment on its own. Let's add a bit more water. Let's just do a block of it here. Just let that down and watch it as it dries. I'm curious about that one. And again, this Rutger's Dream is an interesting one. It's such a crazy pigment. See, I'm kind of looking really here for, what am I looking for here? Well, I'm looking for interesting paints that do interesting things, for sort of really like urban sketching and stuff like that. And sometimes you need to lay out a little bit more of a paint, give it a bit more space to breathe before you can see what it does and how it behaves. Let's take some of this burnt sienna. That's a nice colour, isn't it? It's a very strong pigment. And let's pop that alongside the French Ultramarine. And this is a mix I use a lot. At least I use these colours a lot. And together you make a lovely grey mix. So I want to have a look at a few more of these pigments, specifically this River, because that is an interesting colour and I want to see it used a bit bigger and to have a closer look at the pigment once it's calmed down a bit. And there's another one, and another one is this Forest Green, because I think that Forest Green, such a dark pigment. I'll be interested to see how that sits with like this the Rutger's Dream. Yeah, just bash them together, see what happens. Okay, so let's take a little bit of the, I had a bit of a mucky brush there, but you can see there's all sorts on it, doesn't matter. A little bit of the yellow, and a little bit of that juniper. It's got a lot of blue in that. weird, clashy, but nice. And freestyling and just thinking about colour mixing. Interesting beachy tones there. I like that. Little beachy scene or something. I don't know, just a bit of a play. Okay, and then we've just got this little bit of space here. What we're going to do with that? Quite like that wild berry with a bit of burnt sienna. That's nice. Yeah, interesting. So what do you think? What do I think then? Well, your basic primary yellow really and blue, just lovely together, nice and flat, nice and even. So it's got some interesting bleed into this one. And when mixed, you just get a lovely sort of mid-green. This is the Starry Night, and once it's actually put out in a big wash, it really is lovely. It's, as I say, quite granulating. Ruta's Dream is an interesting one. That is a little bit of a magician in terms of what it's doing. There's an awful lot of kind of glowing pigment there. I dropped in some water there, and I suspect you could create some interesting clouds with backgrounds and things with that one. Mixed with that forest green, you get such wonderful textures. And again, talking of textures, this is the burnt sienna and French ultramarine, which are always going to do interesting things together. But look at this in here. It's incredible. Really lovely. And a lot more of my usual sort of mixes are here. I've been having a bit of a play with. This is a bit of a daft thing, but it was some raw sienna, a little bit of that forget-me-not, and then just a dollop of primary blue up there. Actually, I think that, yeah, I think it was primary. And then here I've just tried a few different greens. You know, there's a bit of chrome green, a bit of the forest green, and then this here is the green woodpecker, and a few little dots in there. And I've let it just bleed around and be a bit abstract. So yeah, I mean, my first impressions of these paints are they're wonderful. They're really lovely. They activate well. It doesn't take them long to activate. You're off with them pretty sharpish. I need to actually get a tin and a proper mixing thing for them so they sit nicely. So first impressions, I love them. I think they're wonderful to paint with. I'm really looking forward to actually painting in anger with these. So as you can see, I've done a little bit of swatching here. I've not swatched all of the spot colours that they sent me because I think that would be a huge video, and I'll go back and do those, I think. First impressions is they're excellent. I mean, the pigments are strong. That's kind of what I like. I like quite bold pigments. They paint very well. There's some interesting stuff going on. Say Ruta's Dream, the Starry Night, and yeah, they're really interesting. The way that once they dry, they split up into these different colours, and you get these amazing patterns. Very, very interesting. I think ultimately, like all these things, the proof is in the pudding, and the proof is in the eating. It really is a case of sketching with them, you know, going out there or doing some sketching in the studio where I can mix colours together. I can have a little bit of a play and experiment. I tend to find if I have new paints to paint with, I'll be a lot more cautious about just applying paint. So I'll often have a little sheet of paper at the side and I'll have a play with pigments. I'll try stuff before I commit to the finished piece. So you kind of organically, you get used to using a palette, but it does take a while. So I hope you enjoyed that video. It's a bit of an unusual video for me to do, it's just a swatching video, but I was so excited about getting these paints and really am. I'm thrilled with them, and it's going to be really interesting to use them going forward. And it's going to be super interesting to see how my colour choices and the way I paint is altered by these new colours. It's all very exciting. It's one of the frustrating things about art and sort of art materials is there's always something new to try, but it's also one of the things that I think keeps me fresh as an artist, is trying different paints and trying different techniques and methods and media. But that said, there is some very big art companies out there who have an awful lot of sort of power in a way to dominate the market, and they produce things in huge volumes, and because they're producing volumes, it's an economy of scale. They can sell cheap and or cheaper, but they still make big profits, of course. Most businesses need to. But it's also nice to see a marketplace where you have small manufacturers who are doing more interesting products, perhaps smaller volumes, but they inevitably have to charge more. And I think Deep Light is a company who's got some fascinating products, really interesting paints. You really get the impression that Deep Light is not a big company. There is a few people, probably less than 10, I think, from what it said on the website, working there. And it's a happy little factory in Latvia. And you kind of get that feel through the products. They're happy little paints. So there's a lot more time and love, I think, gone into these perhaps than some of your bigger companies' products. But yeah, anyway, that's enough for me now. I'm really looking forward to getting to grips with these properly and painting in anger. Well, not in anger, but with pleasure. And I might actually do some super quick sketches for the channel, and really nice loose quick sketches, and I can chuck on some paint and watch it do its magical thing, and get a real feel for how it all gels together. So thanks for watching this. Please do like and subscribe. As they say in the YouTube world, it does help the channel. And also, if you want to watch the full version of this, as well as all my other videos, hundreds of videos, and drawing series and painting series, check out my Patreon, where for a small fee you can get access to all that back catalogue. Thanks to all my patrons for all the support, as always. Right, I need a cup of tea. I'm exhausted after all that swatching. My life's so hard. See you later. Bye-bye.